welcome to the Imaginary Gallery. It is TJ, your host, and welcome to the brand new series, which is titled Blast from the Past, which has more than one meaning, but we'll stick with the one that matters. And sorry, but I am not Alex from Orange is the New Black, where her glasses always reflect light that's nowhere on the set, but is in her glasses, so sorry. I don't wear them anyway. But tonight's purpose is to share just a story from my teen days, because I'm no longer in my teens, but I know that when I was in my teens, there was no resource anywhere to look for anything, so hopefully some of you teens out there can benefit from what I'm about to tell you. Jesus is coming. Kidding. But no, the deal is, if you're a young gay and you're like trying to branch out into the dating world, it's really screwed up, or it can be, because like I've said in another video for the adults, there's no June Cleaver, Ward Cleaver role model to follow. So it's like you're on your own. You make up your own rules as you go. But I just thought I would share one particular experience which didn't really cause any kind of major conflict for me, because I saw it as if I had benefited from both sides, but just to let you know what does go on, or what can go on in this twisted, dating, gay, non-June Cleaver world. But what happened was, I was like 16, maybe 17, and I was a part of an underground subculture, which I lived in a suburban neighborhood, and I went to a high school, which everybody was normal and had feathered hair like Farrah Fawcett, and the boys had a slit down their head and the same thing, and I used to see that daily and think, why does everybody have the same look? So I didn't want that. So I, of course, was looking to my 80s Boy George, George Michael, whatever role models, and thinking, you know what, they don't look like that, and I would design my own look. Fake cherry red hair color, all kinds of stuff. Makeup, which I would never wear today. But I just did not like basically based on 70s stuff with the feathered hair and stuff, so I didn't want to be a part of that. So but there were also like nightclubs for kids. Wow, nightclub, non-alcoholic, of course, soft drinks, but I used to go to these places, and of course gays were there, girls were there, straight, it was just a mix. But I used to go there, and it was like that was the cool thing, because it wasn't the sick suburban feathered-haired fool thing. It was like different. So it was my subculture where the best music was played, which of course is still in print today. New Order was one of them. But the point was of this, that I met all kinds of colorful characters, and I, of course, was a colorful. I played in a band with bright red and blue colored aqua-netted hair that went straight up, and it was just fun. It was the 80s. If you weren't there, you won't understand. But anyway, there was a particular lady who was like a hair cutter, a hairdresser, and I thought, wow, I should go to her, because it was like cool to go to somebody to get your hair cut. So I got her phone number and said, hey, I'd like a haircut. And she told me, sure. Young kid. And I told my mother, well, I've got a haircut. Would you take me? I didn't have a car. I couldn't drive legally. But Mother drove me to the location, which was just a several blocks over, and I went, and when I showed up at this girl's house, who used to refer to herself as Madonna, but she had this guy with her, and he was a little older than I was, and I was this young, impressionable, queer kid that didn't really know where to direct the energy to, and then here's this man there. I looked at him, and we won't show his picture. I don't even know if he's still alive. I've looked. I can't find him. But he had this jet black dyed hair that was like straight up, and this intense features in his face, and this outfit which actually resembles something I still own today, but it was like houndstooth, black and white, and when I saw it, I was just like, oh my goodness, because I was a kid. When you're a kid and you see, it was actually beauty. So when I saw that, I'm like, oh my goodness. But of course, I didn't think I was a kid. I didn't think I was going to like get him or anything. I just thought, wow, look at that. And so I sat down on the pool table or whatever, and she started clipping and cutting and doing her stuff. And I was ticklish and jiggled and jerked and moved and did this and did that, and she did her hair cutting. And it was around Halloween time. And I had strict parents and strict rules, so I had to be home like by 11:30 or something. And she cut the hair, did the whatever, and she agreed to take me home. So here was the girl and this boy with this hair that I thought, oh my goodness, it's Jesus. And she took me home, dropped me off, and I just thought, wow, that was an interesting experience. Well, I went to bed and sleep, and a few hours later, the phone rang. Which, these are the old days, before cell phones. It was like the whole house was connected to one phone line. And the phone rang, so I picked it up. And guess what? It was that guy. The one who was at her house as she cut my hair. And he's like, hi. And he was talking. And I thought, who's this? And it was him. And of course, when you're a teen, begging for acceptance from the world, and you've got this, I was like, oh my goodness, this person's being nice. And so I was like talking back and forth, and so we'd talk, and he lived in a different city, not too far, but not my area. And we'd talk, and then hang up. And then what ended up happening was I would go to school the next day, all day, come back home, and then at a certain time, the phone would ring, and it was him. And I'd be like, hello, and we'd talk again, back and forth. And it was, again, I was a teen. It was something new, and I thought it was exciting. Like, wow, this guy who I figured I'd never have a chance with is calling me. Oh my. And I just liked it. So it was like good and positive. And eventually we'll skip ahead because he knew lots of other people I knew from the kiddie nightclubs. But at one point, somehow, I don't know how it happened, I went to his home, and specific behaviors were indulged in, which I'm not quite sure I'd ever even done. Maybe I hadn't. We won't go into nasty details, but things I had not experienced happened, and I was like gaining power for this person, like, wow, 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 this is great. Let's just say I had fun. There. So, strangely though, I stopped hearing from this person shortly after. Which, again, I was a teen, I was exploring life, so it really didn't matter too much. However, several months later, I met a girl at my high school who introduced me to a brand new kiddie nightclub, and I went there and again noticed the same groups of people, which I found interesting because they were from all over the city. They weren't like from one city only, they were like from all. But during this period, and this sounds like manipulation, but one of the girls I knew who worked at a mall I used to go to had this blonde friend who had like Billy Idol hair like I've had before. And we all went to their car, and we were teens, but they had alcoholic beverages. Shh. But they did, and one particular evening, the girl I knew took me to her car, gave me the cold duck drink, and I drank it, and there was this blonde boy, and he was there, and basically she left the car and left me in the car with him, which was some kind of twisted setup. So beware, stuff like that does happen. But this another pretty one with white hair, and we spoke and interacted, and then of course exchanged phone numbers and started talking here and there. But I'm not saying his name, but it's the same name as a famous actor. But actually was that the blonde and the black-haired, jet black, whatever, were actually a couple for the entire time that the first story I told went through to the second story I told. And they were basically partners. Again, they're teens, but still. And evidently I was a toy for the two of them to jump back and forth between. So here, the first one was nice, and I thought, wow, he must like me. And then the second one, same thing. And later find out the two of them were in cahoots. And it just gave me a nasty vibration of what is going on here, because evidently they weren't with me because I was some great person. They were with me to one up the other, and that is so consistent with the narcopathic slash narcissist. We won't go to the list, but just be careful. If somebody shows an interest in you, there could be an ulterior motive, but don't let that stop you from having fun. But at the same time, be prepared in case something like this happens, because, I mean, that was kind of mean. But I'm over that now.